Welcome to the pilot episode. This ain't what you want. Y'all have to excuse me. I'm in here right now for the first time by myself trying to do this. But hey, I got a whole bunch of new things that are going to be coming soon. But I really wanted to take an opportunity to come on here and discuss something about what I've been seeing. One of the things I've been seeing online is some of the best memes and jokes there are. Some of all of the exciting things. You know, the internet's going internet every time. But what I have started to notice with this whole Fox Sports 1 thing was a lady made a claim. And when she made this claim against some of the men in the organization. Sexual harassment. There's a class action aspect of it of people not getting paid properly. She didn't get money that she was supposed to get. And it's a lot of stuff. I mean, from Skip Bayless, just a lot of the males there. But yet, all I'm seeing is all of the hate towards Joy Taylor. So I started really looking at it. It's 42 pages long. If you ever read the lawsuit, it's a lot to it. I mean, of course, you know, legally it's not fully a lawsuit just yet. This is the right before. But it still bothers me in the fact that why does it always seem like the women always have to take the full brunt of all of the situation and what's going on, even when they're not fully involved? And so, as we all can see, I'm a man here, and I don't want to take up all of the time. So I brought on some people who can really shed a little bit of light on this in here, and we can have a real discussion. And trust me, I just like them a whole lot because they know a whole lot more than I do. They're amazing people. I have wonderful, it's attorney Symone Redwine from YouTube's Girl. Is that legal? I can't say it like she can. I won't say it like that, but you know.
Your legal bestie, attorney Symone, I'm here.
And then I also have Miss All Things Sports herself, the Holly Heat, who I won't say probably even knows some of the people, but we're going to leave that alone. All right, we're going to see. We're going to talk about it. So first thing I really want to do, though, is let me kind of restate real quick what's happening. So for those who do not know or just caught on the tail end and just only looking at the memes and all the comments, I'm not going to butcher this woman's name. But a hairstylist filed lawsuit against Fox Sports 1, Fox News, just the entire corporation, which you understand that's how you do it. You always start from the top and go all the way down. But it's pretty much Dixon, who's the guy who was pretty much the guy over talent there, saying that he sexually harassed her. He was doing all kinds of stuff. He groped her at a Christmas party, a bunch of different things. The woman who's filing this is a single mother that asked about all these different things. And what I found out is a lot of the things about her as to why she felt she could not leave or had to wait so long or have to deal with it for a long period of time is because of the fact that she knows that the industry is very small and she did not want to have where she becomes blackballed from already leaving one company to come there and then leaving again. Then there's Skip Bayless, who was alleged to have offered $1.5 million, which lets you know inflation on some is a whole different thing here. Because $1.5 million, I almost, in my maleness, I almost was like, "Woman, you hustling backwards. You should have took that $1.5 million." But again, saying what you want, I'm gonna leave that alone. But and then there's some other people who then the whole thing falls to Joy Taylor. Now, Joy Taylor is not mentioned anywhere in this as far as someone who did anything wrong to her outside of telling her to suck it up when she was harassed and making fun of her. But there is some discrepancies in here because apparently they were great friends, and all this started to happen after Joy Taylor decided that she wanted a new hairdresser. So it's up to interpretation to decide whether or not is this really something? But I really just want to know why did she include Joy Taylor in this? Because other people were named, like Shannon Sharpe was named, and the several other people who were named, but they were not named as somebody who did anything wrong. They were kind of passerbys. Shannon Sharpe was named because Dixon, and this is speculation, Dixon told Skip that the hairdresser was messing with Shannon, and that's why Skip Bayless was wondering why he couldn't get none, I guess. But she says she denied all this, and we know what Shannon said. So now I'm going to turn it over to the ladies first. Thoughts? We'll start with you, Symone.
I just want to start by saying, as a threshold question, $1.5 million to have sex with Skip. Holly, would you have done it? Would you have taken it? I probably would have took it. I have had sex with way weirder people for a lot less. Holly, would you have done
Look,
it?
look, it, transparency moment. I think a lot of us women, in our mind, we have a number that we're like, I might do it. I might do it. And that's, it's kind of well above my number. So, yeah, I probably would have done it. Can
For
I
a
see
million
the
and a half, you could take a nice shower. That's the only thing I say. As a man, and if I had, and again, I love my sisters, I love all my family and everything else. But if I'm sitting back right here and I know that you're a struggling mother with a child and you got all this other stuff going on and you can't leave, a million and a half, even
Miss
with the price of
Faraji,
eggs.
my granny would have popped it open so quick for that man. But you know why? Because she loves me. Miss Faraji, now I'm questioning the love you have for your son. You should have popped it open and spread it wide.
She could have put a time limit on it and say, look, I got
Just
3 minutes.
kidding.
That's all you get. Million and a
I'm
half,
just
all right?
but I will. Okay, I'm your legal bestie, attorney Symone, right? So
Yeah.
I'm saying this in part in jest, but also just reading over the complaint. Honestly, when I got to that part, that's where I called BS. Men will proposition women in all kinds of ways, but I just can't say that I've heard of any man, especially a man of those kind of means, who would assign a specific dollar amount. No, they want continuing access. They want things. They want to be like, well, they'll give you access to stuff before they'll be like, I'll cut you a check for 1.5 million. So I'll just say that was the moment I decide this bitch is lying.
Holly, do you have anything?
as far as like the legitimacy of the claim, like all I can really say, and not definitively, but I do know people that know the hairdresser, and they didn't feel like it was like a BS situation. But obviously, I did see the comments about from Shannon. I'm sorry, not Shannon Sharpe. Stephen A. Smith, that were like, he's cheap. Like, he's not gonna give somebody, $15, 1.5 million, and that's like an oddly specific number. Um, you know, and in general, like, I know we're here to discuss like the bigger picture, but if we're discussing the specifics of it, yeah, some of it seems a little bit funny, but the implications of it in general, which is why you have us here, it is. I won't say I don't want to diminish her if she was like these things actually happen to her, but I think the implications for us as women are kind of like the
But
bigger issue.
I asked, now let me pose this here to you. I thought it was very weird too, but also, could it have been more along the line of one of those things that, how everybody says everybody has a number, right? In jest, he could have been like, better yet, let me back up. Let me tell you a little story. This is a reason why I never talk about women or anything I've ever been involved with, because of what Dixon did, and then what Skip Bayless did, which to me is the mark of a true hater in every form and every sense. When I was in high school, there was a particular girl who I had the opportunity to be involved with. And my friend of mine kept asking me over and over, man, I know you did. Man, didn't you do this? And I would never say anything. I was like, I don't know. Ask her. I ain't telling you nothing. Finally, one day, I was like, you know what? Yeah, she came over the other night. And he was like, I knew it. Then all of a sudden, a couple days later, she comes to me and says, I really thought you were different. I would have never expected you to do this. You'll never hear from me again. And I was so hurt because I knew exactly what had happened. My homeboy went and said, oh, you can give Jay some, but you can't do nothing. And I was like, what does that get you? What was she supposed to say in that moment? Like, oh, okay, well, since that happened, yeah, come on, let's go. Like, I don't get that. And so even if Shannon was knocking her down on the set in front of everybody, what did Skip Bayless, if this part is true, have to gain by going and saying, Oh, you was doing well because you was messing with Shannon.
Let's set up the context. Okay, so here are the allegations, guys. The gist of the allegations is Miss Faraji was a hairdresser on the show for about 10 years. All of this came about because she believes that she was unlawfully fired. Claims that she was fired, and I believe she was fired in 2023, last year, and that she was fired. And her claim is after declining Skip Bayless's offers to be intimate with him, as well as the show Undisputed and other shows that she had been working on got canceled, and they did not reassign her. She's claiming she also went on leave for a work injury. She got injured on the job, was off for 40 days, came back, and they didn't give her shows back. They reassigned her. And that basically all of this is retaliation for her complaining that she didn't get, when she came back from leave, didn't get her shows back, and for not doing it to dusty old Skip, bless his little heart. Okay. And one of the allegations related to Skip is that apparently the executive, Mr. Dixon, had told Skip, well, she's screwing Shannon. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, uh, uh, Skip then went to her and was like, I can't believe you do this. Basically, you're not giving me some, but you're giving it to the big black Negro. You're giving it to the Negro. Give me some
Yep.
dick too.
I know her.
I mean, vagina.
Who's
Give me
half your
some
age
vagina.
too.
Give it to the Negro and give it to me too. And that's why we're here today, guys. No, seriously, it is this ludicrous. This ludicrous. I'll let you guys elaborate, but hurts my head. It's so stupid.
Right, and that's the part
Not
that
just
gets
the
me though, is
facelift, I just said.
because when you're here, all right, unfortunately, we know that just because people are in positions of power, people have money, all that kind of stuff, does not mean that they are smart. It just means that they were good at a particular task that got them into the position that they were in. And so I don't put anything past somebody when it comes to high school behavior, because looking at some of these people, let's be honest, this is a come up for them in every kind of form of fashion. Like, to be associated with Joy Taylor would be, or to Faraji, I want to say her name right.
That's right, Faraji.
Yes, to be associated with her is a positive on them. And I'm not trying to down these dudes, but Dixon and Skip are not them kind of dudes that, like, all right, if it was Brad Pitt or Timothy Chalamet, one of these guys out here, you can be like, well, that man can get whoever he want. But we looking at y'all like, come on, dude, you would have had to have spent some money. You'd have had to have done something. And I'm not trying to down this or say that, or like add that lens to it, but I just think it convolutes the whole thing, because there could be some constant groping, constant playing, constant touching. And because she would not do something, I've been in the workplace before where that has happened, because a woman will not do something, and who did do something some kind of way, at least in the minds of them, to somebody else, now they're mad.
And I'm not saying that I feel all of the allegations in here are untrue. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my eyebrows raised at the specificity of the $1.5 million allegation. That just sounded odd. For example, there are additional allegations. She's actually trying to set this up for a class action with regards to certain wage and hour and workplace claims. I'll name those off. So basically, the other thing she's doing is, this is basically like a dog whistle. Anybody else who's experienced any of the following, having worked for Fox Sports or Fox, any of these Fox Corporation entities, you literally can call her lawyers and join the lawsuit for free. Now, those allegations are sexual battery, hostile work environment based on your sex or gender, hostile work environment based on your race or national origin, hostile work environment based on you having a disability, the failure to prevent harassment. So if you're a worker who's experienced harassment, another claim is negligent supervision, hiring, and retaliation, those claims. So basically, if you've worked for a Fox corporate entity and experienced any of those, you can actually call up the law firm that's representing her and join in. Excuse me. So I said that absolutely opposite. That was wrong. The class action complaint claims are not those. Those are specific to her. Here's the class action claims: failure to pay minimum wage, failure to pay overtime, failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to pay all wages upon separation, failure to furnish accurate itemized wage statements, and unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent business practices. So you ain't got your wages paid right from Fox, you calling people up.
Call them up. If you have mesothelioma, you've been exposed to something. So, so Holly, let me ask you this then. I do think it's a problem.
Is Tony Buzz representing?
I hope not. I hope
No, that was my first question. No, it's actually a Persian law firm, Ayazi Abdi.
Okay.
In LA.
I was hoping he's not. Don't get me started on this man here, but that ambulance chaser right there. But anyways, so Holly, being a woman in sports. All right, so we already know that it already is bad, especially a woman being in a male-dominated field, talking about male-dominated sports. Women are already treated kind of like the token object. And then for a person to actually have a prime spot, like there's only a few people who have a prime spot. You know, usually if you're a woman, you're going to be sidelined. You're going to be just the moderator, and that's kind of it. And you let everybody else talk. She has a prime spot, you know, and it's like her, Mina Kimes, it's only a couple of them that really are women who have full on walk in there with the fellas, sit down, talk. And regardless of whatever it is, I think Joy Taylor's pretty good. All right. I do think that she looks like she probably has an attitude. And again, I don't care. I gotta do it. But you know, some people give off that like, oh, she knows she fine, so she thinks she got, you know, but that does not negate whether or not you're good at your job.
Absolutely.
So Holly, being a woman in sports, and we know how many dudes are always just trying to hit on everything else like that. Do you think it's that this is being elevated because they're looking for a reason to tear down a woman because she's pretty, because she should not be there anyway?
I mean, I think this is gonna upset most of the males out there, but I do think that we are an easy target. Like, it is easy to, especially in sports. Like, yes, we had the whole Me Too movement and so forth, although that didn't change the status quo. Like, that stuff is still going on. But I think in sports, I think it's a slower learning curve, I guess, for people. Like, hey, guys, you can't really talk like that to women over here because it's still a boys club. So I think in regard to that, it's just, man, part of me is kind of like, well, I know it's a boys club, so I am going to sort of acquiesce to some of the things that come with being in this boys club. And I think that that's like a shame that we kind of have to pick between. It's like, do we want to be an advocate for our cause, or do we want to have a career? Because progression is going so slow in this field. Which, I mean, yes, there are a lot more women now than there were. There are a lot more women of color in sports than there were. And we know from the whole, like, Rachel Nichols thing that, like, there was a lot of fault, which is unfortunate. It had to happen to Rachel Nichols because she's still a woman in the industry. And it's like, dang, you know. But I feel like, why do we have to die on this hill of making everything like we have to take a stance? And I think in this situation, specifically in regard to Joy Taylor, and I don't have inside information about this, but just speaking, if I were to put myself in her shoes, right? Say that your coworker did speak up to you regarding sexual harassment, and you're focused on advancing your career, you're putting time, you're putting work in, your coworker comes to you with this, and you're kind of like, you know what, girl, you just got to suck it up. Not literally, although for 1.5, I don't know. But like, I could see them having a fallout because she confided, the hairdresser Faraji, she confided in Joy Taylor, thinking, oh, she's going to have my back. She seems like such a strong woman. And again, I don't have any insight to their personal relationship, but Joy Taylor's kind of like knowing in her mind, this Like, you're a hairstylist for multiple types of media. I work in sports, and right now this is still a boys club. We're still in sports. Yeah, this is par for the course, unfortunately. So suck it up. And then maybe they had some friction once that occurred, and that's why she's being named in the lawsuit. And in regard to why women are making the fault, like, of course, when I was doing a little bit of research for this, I type in Fox Sports, and of course, the first search is Fox Sports Joy Taylor, which is really sad. You know, like, I don't know another way to describe it except that it's sad, but also predictable.
This also sucks for Joy because legally, here's how it works. Fox, the corporation, is going to have an attorney hired. And then maybe initially they may hire one for Joy, but Joy's going to have to hire her own attorney and pay for it with her own money because there's something called a conflict of interest. When you're suing both the corporation and individual workers, what happens is there becomes a conflict because there are going to be times when that individual worker, i.e., Joy, may need to point the finger at the organization. So this could bankrupt Joy. Like, she doesn't make that much money doing it. Okay. I'm not being disrespectful to her salary,
Oh no,
but I'm
yeah.
saying when you add in an unexpected $100,000 legal fee, that's not cool. Like, she's really gonna have to get behind this. And I found it very interesting. Actually, I know why. This is why you asked me to be on here as an attorney. So the reason why they tacked Joy on there and Skip, and even Mr. Dixon individually, not just as employees, is to prevent the case from being removed to federal court. That's all it is. Because federal court is a less friendly jurisdiction. When you're suing someone in Cali, you want to stay in California state court. So, yes, so that was legal maneuvering. And unfortunately for Joy, for Skip, and for Mr. Dixon, they're being named individually as defendants, as opposed to, like I said, they could be named as employees because legally they could still win the exact same case without listing them as defendants. Because in the lawsuit, there's a concept called respondeat superior, which means y'all work for this company and the company is responsible for the behavior of the worker.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of the interesting
Which
part
I
is
also,
Mhm.
and that's kind of one of the things I wondered. Like, did she actually include? Because to me, it feels a little catty towards Joy. All right, no matter how you feel about Joy, I'm a man. I'm biased. All right, let's be honest. There's if you like somebody, then you kind of agree with them a little bit more. If you don't like somebody, then no matter what they say, you don't. I'm that way. All
You
right.
like Joy and her titties? Them
See,
big old red?
I am not. I won't talk about that. I won't say that
That other
fat
man,
fedora.
Jason Whitfield, he
That
had a
fat
whole little
fedora
video.
wearing dude, I won't say his name, who all he did was talk about her body. No, it's more than that. I actually just like her. I liked her when she when she was on the show and she went after the guys who were sitting up there not understanding something that was happening. And from that moment, I started paying a little bit more attention to her. I was like, well, hold on now. Because it was very easy and convenient for her to jump in and be a part of that same thing when Shady McCoy and Acho was piling on. And then I forgot who had the other. And she was like, no, y'all are missing something. And when she said it, it clicked with me. And I was like, I need to start
What
paying
are you
attention.
talking about?
Yeah, huh? Excuse me.
What are you talking about? What happened?
Oh, well, it was during the show. They were talking about something that had to do with, this is back when Caitlin Clark was first coming to the league. And it was like this whole thing about, and it was this whole conversation about where white versus women versus, like it was all this other stuff. And she was like, y'all doing a whole lot of talking and neither one of y'all are a woman. And neither one of y'all are white. She was like, I'm a black woman, but I'm half white. She just kind of, she said some stuff during that made me have to step back and pay more attention to her. So, but I've always kind of listened to what people say. I like what she says a lot of times. Other times I don't care. It's sports. Everybody has an opinion. But I just thought it felt very catty to me. You know, I'm gonna use that word. That like, okay, Dixon did this stuff. Because she gave good reviews of some of the other people who were there. She didn't bring up Colin Cowherd, say he was a perfect gentleman. She didn't bring up none of these other people. They all worked there too.
She said he was a perfect gentleman.
Yeah, it was if I remember exactly, she was in the, I can't remember what page it was on, but she says there were people there who were perfect gentlemen. And then like that name came up after. So I can't say she directly said he was, but that was kind of the name that popped up because she said she had a journal where she writes down everything that every day she writes in her journal. So she had all of these different dates that she would go back and look at of things that I see your face, Holly. But yeah, she said she had a journal.
When you're filing a lawsuit, but
I mean, I don't think that will help you. Yeah, like, oh, you got a journal. Cool. I mean, you could have wrote that yesterday and put the dates on there. But I just felt it was it just seemed like she drug in Joy Taylor because we knew that would get traction.
For sure.
More than anything. And I feel like that's bad because now Joy Taylor has to defend her, not only the case, but her credibility. Now, you know how lame dudes are on the internet and how people are. They will not listen to it. Jesus Christ himself could come down with a tablet and say she was perfectly innocent and did everything the right way. And them dudes will still be like, nah, I don't believe it. And I think that's wrong because and that's why I want to ask y'all, like, women, is that like one of those things that happen? Because you mentioned Rachel Nichols earlier. Rachel Nichols was taken down by women. She wasn't taken down by guys.
Yeah, no, I
So is this a woman, like, and I don't want to, and that's why I'm asking y'all, but like, is this a woman thing? Like, all right, you can only have so many. It's like in Hollywood, they only let one comedian be on top.
It's a lawyer thing. Look, this is all orchestrated by the lawyers. The lawyers decide how a lawsuit is constructed, how it is structured, and to what extent someone goes from being a witness to becoming a defendant. And what I believe is that these lawyers said, hey, in order to strengthen our claim, so it is not just our female client against these particular men, we're going to add a claim in there against this female. But the problem is, when you are deciding who and how to sue, you have to decide, do you want this person to be a supportive witness or do you want them to be your opponent? They've made Joy Taylor an opponent when there's a chance that she could have been a witness to certain things. But it also may have been, they may have calculated and said, hey, there's no way Joy's going to support your side, so let's go ahead and make her a defendant. Because that way, by her not supporting, it doesn't look like, well, there's one more person against you. Instead, it looks like Joy, has motive.
Well, I know this much. To put on there that, like, whether, like, all right, so for transparency, I couldn't care less if office people do stuff together. I don't care. Like,
Right.
it don't make a difference. You know how many people tried to sleep their way to the top and got nowhere? They have been trying forever. They screwing everybody they can to get on, and they can't. We could just look at, all these people on OnlyFans pages who don't have no, but anyway, so I don't care about that. Office romances happen because, hell, half time you're with that person more than anything else. Think about it. Even if you're married, you could be at work for 8 to 12 hours, at home for 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. So you're spending way more time with these other people. So I've never looked at it like that. Now, power imbalance, yes, you gotta control that. So whether or not she was messing with Acho, don't care. But I know this is the best news Acho has had because Acho been out here on this deep end of lunacy for a minute. And now he removed video. Like, why? Like, if you felt that way that she was such a good person, why are you joining in this here? He made a very glowing review of Joy Taylor when she was coming on. He was talking about how strong she was, how good she was at her job. Black woman out here doing this here, just all this positive stuff. It was like a 2-minute video.
Okay.
And this was like 3 years ago. Then he just goes and erases. And like, knowing that everybody will notice that you erased this video. Like, what did it, like, it makes me wonder what's in your head. Like, what made you decide that was what you needed to go delete? That she was a good person? Like, how was that going to be beneficial to anyone in any of this? Legally, even how is it going to be beneficial? Like, what way? Socially, how is it going to be beneficial? You said she was good.
Is it Emmanuel, Acho? And again, I don't watch a lot of these shows, to be honest with you. I'll listen more to podcasts. But Isn't he kind of like the Coke Zero of Jason Whitlock? You know, like Jason Whitlock is like this is just speaking like because we know it's better, like the Mexican Coca Cola, which is like the better one. Then you have like
I love it.
and then you have Diet Coke, and then you have Coke Zero. Isn't he like the
Yeah,
Coke
I'm gonna
Zero?
say it for you because I'm gonna say it because you can't say it. Jason Whitlock is the coon out there running around here whose whole job it is to tear down black women, tear down women, and tear down everybody else. And Emmanuel Acho is out here where he won't tear you down, but he'll tap dance a little bit so we can have an uncomfortable conversation. And I'm gonna speak like this and very eloquently and use 300 words because I'm trying my best Stephen A. Smith impression that I can't do. And then I'm gonna sit here and say it aggressive because I'm a big black man, but I'm gonna have a soft conversation with white people and let you know that you have a pass. That's what he is. So yes, you're right. You gave a great synopsis, but I said in a way that, some of the other folks who are gonna be watching this will know. This is the best news he could have had. That he possibly has had the opportunity to be with Joy Taylor.
And I want to ask Symone, like in general, for like us regular folks, like, and I mentioned Tony Busby earlier, but like when a person approaches an attorney to file a lawsuit, like what quote unquote like burdens of proof did they have to present to even make cases like that? I feel like there's a wide range.
There is. All right. So basically, what we're obligated to do as attorneys is we've got to do a reasonable amount of diligence to confirm that these claims are supported. So in this case, for example, this woman claims she kept journals. So if I was considering taking her case, I would have asked for copies of those journals. I would ask for copies of the text messages. Throughout the complaint, she talks about text messages between her and Skip Bayless. One thing that I found really interesting is that they frequently, when referencing the text messages between her and Skip, would say, well, she told Skip this, and then Skip didn't respond. Well, that's interesting because just because you told someone something, it doesn't mean the context is what you're claiming it is in this petition. But those are examples of the things that we would want proof of. We'd like to see emails. But I believe all of this started because she got fired. When this woman is like, oh, and she never said anything before because she was scared about her son and this and that. Look, you being scared of those things doesn't prevent you from trying to go and get a job at a competitive network, at a movie studio, elsewhere. The truth of the matter is you couldn't get a job anywhere else. Now, that doesn't mean what happened to you didn't happen to you. But let's just be honest about why we're facing the lawsuit now, which is it was because you were fired. Because the truth of the matter is, if you were still there, you would not, you could have, you can bring a hostile work environment claim and so forth while you are still an employee. But it appears here that the truth, and this is going to sit with the jury, and the jury's going to consider this, is that the reason this lawsuit was brought was because she was fired and has not been rehired anywhere else making the same type of money.
So
does
part
this
of
come
her
down?
is the retaliation, then, correct?
Yeah. Her feeling is the retaliation was getting fired. But let me say this. From what she described her darn self, she should have been fired. Ma'am, you should have been fired. Here's why. And this is coming from me as a child actress. I was in the Screen Actors Guild by the time I was 7 years old. Okay, I was in the union, meaning I've done a lot of work over my years, and that's it. Whenever I see, she's a hairstylist of color. Okay, whenever I would see hairstylists of color, I've never in my life met one that only did hair. The ones I'm aware of do hair and makeup, and even if you take color out of it, when networks are trying, so all she did was hair, and she was saying her show that she was on got cut. Well, baby, ain't nobody's hair to do.
Right.
And if they have a choice between you, a hairstylist who only does hair, versus a hairstylist who does hair and makeup, baby, who you think they're picking?
Right.
They're going with the 2-for-1. It makes perfect sense. So a component of it, Miss Farazi, whatever your name is, I'll read it again later.
Okay, she
Is
goes next, Simone.
huh? Yeah, right. I'm next. I ain't got no money for you, lady. Is like when you're in that kind of industry, a skilled industry, because that takes skill. It's not an easy thing to do. Then you got to pair skills that create economies of scale where you become more cost effective, especially when the whole reason certain shows were ending is they weren't making money. So, uh, and lady, you're doing men's hair. So girl, you got it easy. Try to do my hair, Sunny Hostin's hair, like Whoopi Goldberg's hair. Show
Right.
me your craft.
And I think that was also a big thing is when it comes down to it. I mean, it's always gonna come down to the money. Capitalism rules around here. So when you're talking about who is making the money, who is not only making the money, and they look at those show budgets, and then all of a sudden another show is taking off and doing well, they're gonna reallocate those budgets and those funds somewhere
Right.
else. You know,
If we're just strictly talking about her job task, her job title, and what she was paid to do, she was supposed to be laid off when the show ended. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know whose head you're supposed to do on a show without heads.
It sounds like there were some heads going on.
See,
Sorry, it was too easy. I apologize.
Easy. You gotta. You
This
gotta.
is
well, I mean,
a woman who talks about sports. You just gotta roll with the punches sometimes. But no, I'm
Literally.
advocating, like, obviously, that type of environment. If the things that happen to her indeed happen to her, then like my heart goes out to her, because that's not easy to navigate, especially when you're providing for your family, and it's not easy just in general as a woman, just working in media, working in sports. um but like Jamar, I mean, I know that you kind of preface this whole thing by saying, like, why is all of this falling on Joy Taylor? And again, when you search Fox Sports, it's going to be Fox Sports Joy Taylor. Now people might be searching Skip Bayless, yeah, because he's the big name here, and people really dislike him a lot for the most part. But I think it is part of a bigger conversation that, yes, we are still kind of thrown to the wolves in
right.
a lot of cases.
And that's what
And
was.
go ahead.
No, go on, finish.
Well, regardless of like how, I don't want to say regardless of how she got there, but like, she's been in media for a while. Yes, she is the sister of a former NFL player, but in general, there, just because, I mean, there's lots of siblings of former NFL players, and they don't get on TV every day. So like, she still had to consistently demonstrate her craft and ability to do the job, and like this, in people's minds, because we live in a society that is so polarized one way or another, and you can't just see the in between, that they think that nullifies her body of work, and I just don't think it does.
Yeah, and that's where I have the problem, is because it seems like that's what they're doing. So in closing, I want to keep y'all too long. So I want to ask y'all opinion on, or what advice would you give both Faraji in the workplace environment like that, and Joy Taylor? How does she come back? How does she come out the other side of this, at least with some sort of her name intact? What would your suggestions be? And we'll start. Holly, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think I would defer to Simone, because there's probably only certain things that she can talk about. So I would think I'd probably want to know like the legal implication, or that side of it, before I could say what she, should do.
Yeah, I would say if I were Joy, I'd fight to the end. And here's why. Because with Joy doesn't through from my reading of it, and I do need to read again more specifically, but from my reading of it, it did not sound like Miss Faraji ever asked for an investigation into Joy or into Joy's behavior, or asked that Joy be refrained or stopped from doing anything in particular to her. No, all Joy was accused of doing was creating a hostile work environment. Well, one of the things that Joy allegedly did to do so, create that hostile environment, was Joy told her, stop your fucking humming. Stop humming. You're annoying me.
Right.
I hate hummers. I hate hummers. I hate whistlers.
Whistler
Hate
sound.
all of you. Hate all of you people. And she's like, well, it's because of my PTSD. I'm sorry. Nobody knows. Nobody knows you hum for that. Did you tell everybody, sorry, I'm a hummer because I survived the Iraq war? No. Or Iranian. She's Iranian. The Iranian war. I'm sure they've had a war. No. And said, you're just an annoying person. And so she didn't like you because you're annoying. The other thing is she would make fun of your accent. Well, that's what we do in America. We make fun of people who don't speak in an appropriate way. It is not origin bound. If you spoke with a Texas accent, they would make fun of you. Ma'am, you're just annoying. You're just annoying. So if I were Joy, I would stick with, I didn't create a hostile work environment. I just had an annoying coworker. And then I'd have my attorney play clips from The Office to give illustrations of how annoying coworkers can be and illustrations of what that entails, right? I would do that. But also for Joy, I would literally play this up as, this is a disgruntled employee, and this is a woman who, instead of relying on other women and trying to build us up, she's choosing to take me down so that she can stand on my shoulders. Shame on this bitch. That'd be my argument.
Well, I will say this here, since I'm the only guy on here before we close, as far as for Dixon, and well, Skip is already on the way out. I would just, hey, Dixon, unless you got pictures of the boss way up ahead of you, higher up, just fall on that sword, just take that L. Just hey, look, hey, I screwed up. You know you're gonna get your money anyway. You know you're gonna get your severance, you're gonna leave, you're gonna be out of here, you'll be all right. And then
he do look like he be touching people's booties. I think he probably did what
I told you, that's why I said earlier, some people, like, he looked like he's had to use his position a whole lot to get any kind of play. He does not like the guy who just walked up and have game, which I just don't understand. Why so many suckers out there who just don't have no game? What's wrong with just walking up and saying, hey, how you doing? My name is. He didn't have to have game
because he had money growing up. That's why.
It might be it, but it sure do make you a sucker for real. I just don't get it. I just
Holly's pointing to her white, precious skin. She's like,
it's out the white. That's all I'm saying.
It was like his skin is his privilege, and it was. He could get away with it. Look at him. He looked like he stinks.
But again, just learn to walk up and just say hi. If she feeling you, sometimes, guess what? She's just not feeling you. Move on to. There are 347 million adults in the U.S. There are 290 million above the age of 18, and over half are women. You have a chance with somebody. Just go to another one. It's 161 million women out there. Go find another one. But he just seems like he's that type who only can. So he needs to just take that L, do the old whatchamacallit approach to Tiger Woods. I have a sex addiction problem. I'm gonna go spend this time with my family, and let me go sit down somewhere lying. Just take the money and leave. Let it blow over, because you're a white guy. It's gonna blow over. They're gonna forget about you in about 3-4 days. And if you notice, they keep showing the same 2 pictures of him. So it's not like his pictures are everywhere.
And one of them is with that ugly toupee. That toupee is terrible. I have Cabbage Patch dolls with better texture.
Yeah, leave that man wig alone. That man got a man wig. It just looks like it don't sit right. Like, but all right. Well, ladies, I really appreciate y'all taking the time out. Any final things? Let everybody know where they can find you. Symone, go ahead.
All right. Yep, you can find me on YouTube at Girl Is That Legal with Attorney Symone with a Y, or on Instagram at Attorney Symone Redwine, Symone with a Y.
See, I can't say it with that accent because I don't have that accent like you do. Holly?
You can find me on Instagram at Holly Heats. and I'm sort of in a little show purgatory right now, but we're about to get stuff up and running here in the new year. So
She's trying to she's trying to be modest about her show called You Don't Know Sports that's coming, that she's been procrastinating now. But I won't say anything. Ladies, love y'all. Thank y'all for taking the time to come sit on here with me. And this last second thing. But I will say in closing to all, and look, know the people you work with. Hey, and fellas, sometimes you're just not the catch. That's cool. Sometimes you're just not that guy. Don't get mad at the other person who is that guy. Why don't you go over there and find out what he's doing? It could be something as simple as he's nice, he tells jokes, he smells good, he wash, he shave. I don't know, whatever it is. Or find the women who pay attention to you and sit down somewhere. And ladies, unfortunately, it sucks. I can't tell you, but I think y'all need to stick together a whole lot more with each other. Even if you don't like each other, you know, they always talk about the whole thing with ants, you know, like when the flood comes, ants latch onto each other so they can float along the water so they don't drown. They don't care about that at that moment. So when that flood come, they all together, one, unified. So guess what? You ain't gotta like Lisa or Karen or everybody at where you work at. But when it comes down to it, stand by her. Maybe some of these dudes will have to learn to respect and know that they can't do some of that stuff. So that's it. Thank y'all for joining. I will talk with everybody later. Y'all have a good one. This been This Ain't What You Want.